I'm glad we've established that. Kurt Loder is made of wax.
Dueling decades.
All right, Mancrush, you pick up our first point, but more importantly, you take control of the board and get to select our next category. Where are we going, man?
Man, I'm be quite honest. I have a very strong June of 1975 that I think can hang with the entire year of 1996. So I'm going to go to news for round 2.
All righty.
All right, so let's go. First is going to be June 16th, 1975. And how about some sports? You know, it's been a while since I've had a sports pick on the show. I can't even remember the last sports pick I had. Dave, I know you told me not to mention wrestling, and don't worry, this is not a wrestling pick. All right, so we won't fight about it. But this one, it's about basketball.
Okay.
And
You can fight about basketball too if you want.
We can. We'll see what happens. It's
right.
about a blockbuster trade. All right. This is a player that was drafted on a totally different name. And he was an absolute man amongst boys right from the get-go. His rookie year averages 29 points a game, 15 rebounds. And then won his first NBA championship in his second year in the league. In the process, he led the league in scoring twice. He won 3 MVP awards in 1971, 72, and 74. However, he felt that Milwaukee just wasn't cultural enough for him. So he demanded a trade, and he would only go to New York or Los Angeles. Well, on June 16th, the Milwaukee Bucks finally gave in to his demands. They traded him off to the LA Lakers for center Elmore Smith, guard Brian Winters, the second overall pick in the draft, who was a power forward. It was Dave Myers, and the 8th overall pick in the draft, small forward Junior Bridgman. All right, just a little background on what Milwaukee got here. So they got Elmore Smith. He only lasted 1 season in Milwaukee before he was gone. Brian Winters, he actually had a pretty decent career with the Bucks before retiring in 1983. Dave Myers, he would never live up to that second overall pick status. He retired after 4 seasons to devote more time to the Jehovah Witness faith. Nothing wrong with that. But hey, 4 years. He was number 2 pick in the draft. And this whole draft, it lasted 2 months. Like these two teams were like talking for like 2 months, going back and forth right after the draft. I think it got a little heavier. But the whole thing was Dave Myers wanted a $1.5 million contract. This is 1975. So they wanted to make sure that the Lakers signed this guy before they even did the deal. And he was the first one to retire. It was off the team in 4 years. Kind of shitty. And then Junior Bridgman, he was the guy that I was talking about that was the 8th overall selection. He actually would become like a 6th man from Milwaukee for like the next 8 years. So he was probably the most valuable of their side of those 4 picks or 4 players. On the other side, you had center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He would go on to play for the next 14 years in Los Angeles before retiring and getting his own pair of LA Gear sneakers in 1989. So that's a pretty big caveat there. During that run, he won 5 NBA championships with the Lakers. He had an NBA Finals MVP in 1985. He had 3 NBA MVPs overall during that time and 14 All-Star games. Not too shabby. I guess the Lakers got the best of this one. It's always fun. I love trades because, like, in the moment, you know, I'm a Mets and a Jets fan. Mike knows this is a Mets fan. Whenever we trade somebody away, especially like it's for picks, we're like, oh, that guy's going to be good. And I feel like we're always on this other side. Like we are right now. Like we trade away our best player or like our hot prospects, but our hot prospects go on to be fucking studs. And we get a guy back who's like a perennial all-star that sucks balls. And in this case, the Lakers, they killed it. But yeah, it's Kareem getting traded to the Lakers. June 16th, 1975.
Well, I'm really glad I skipped over the 1985 NBA Finals for the news pick. So I did find something else, and I went with that. So for my news pick, we'll go over to the LA Weekly, June 6th, 1985. We're going to look at the club and live music listings, and we find one here for Doug Weston's Troubadour on Santa Monica Boulevard. It says no age limit, drinks and dinner, legendary career launching spot for innumerable artists over the years. the bar's longtime hangout for musicians like Elton John and Linda Ronstadt. Inside the nightclub, there's long, plain wooden tables that stretch out from a stage that will feature entertainment from heavy metal to the latest new rock bands. Cover weeknights is usually about $4. So you then look at the weekly lineup. We find Thursday, June 6th, 1985. You have 3 bands that night: Mistreater, Guns N' Roses, and Fine Line. This would be the first show with what would become the quintessential GNR lineup: Axl Rose, Slash, Duff McKagan, Izzy Stradlin, and drummer Steven Adler. Now, leading up to that show, Duff would book a tour that not only would test the band, but prove to be the breaking point for 2 of its members, prompting then guitarist Tracy Guns and drummer Rod Gardner to quit the band, enter Slash and Adler, and then this show at the Troubadour. And just before, GNR would set off on what would become known as the Hell Tour. 48 hours after this show, the new band would all cram into one of their friends' late 70s cars, and the whole trip would be fueled by a gas card that he actually stole from his mom to transport the band. Well, their friend's car ended up breaking down on the way to Seattle. So after that, it kind of became like a bizarro heavy metal planes, trains, and automobiles as they tried to hitchhike their way to Seattle, getting rides from farm workers, strung out speed freak truckers, and then finally meeting up with a pair of old hippie chicks who bought them all food and drove them to Portland, Oregon, where one of Duff's friends would pick them up, only to get to the show and then have to play the show with all borrowed equipment to a pretty much an empty room. So Slash explains it in his book, What Drives Us. They shared an experience, the shared experience resulting in a bonding that you don't even realize is happening at the time. So it was an event that shaped the band and the future of rock history. It's the first Guns N' Roses show in the Hell Tour, June 1985.
Wow. They reported on them in the news?
Yeah, they didn't report on them, but I found the listing for their first show.
Oh.
All right, Mike, what do you have for the news round?
Well, before I get started, I'd like to congratulate you both for picking something that actually happened in June. Probably something I should have done. Maybe I could have went with Ted Kaczynski getting indicted on multiple charges. Probably would have been a better idea, but I didn't do the research for that, so I can't speak on it. But what I can tell you is that on September 7th, 1996, in Las Vegas, Nevada, at precisely 11:15 p.m., hip-hop icon Tupac Shakur was fatally shot while stopped at a red light. The rapper was hit with 4 .40 caliber bullets. Prior events of a physical altercation between Death Row Associates and a member of the Southside Crips in the MGM Grand Hotel lobby following the Mike Tyson fight led to the shooting. Tupac was in critical care until Friday, September 13th, 1996, and pronounced dead at 4:03 p.m. Pacific time. The artist was just 25 years old.
Wow. Jeez.
Until I saw that documentary, I always thought he died right there on the street, on the strip.
Yeah. Jeez.
It's still crazy.
That's a tough one. Way to bring down the show, Mike. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, it's a best of the month. You got that part right, but
Yeah.
Best of Tupac dies.
yeah. Mike's bringing it.
All right, let's throw it over to Dave Schultz for his ruling on the news round.
Okie dokie, Smokey. Let's see, 75, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's an important trade because LA, even though I'm not a fan of LA because I'm a Boston guy, was really big for not only the Lakers, but him and his star would shine brightest on the West Coast, right? Because if he wasn't on the Lakers, he didn't have all that, buzz around him. Would we have ever gotten, Roger Murdoch and Airplane? This is an important
Very
thing.
true. Very true.
If he was still in Milwaukee, that may have never happened. That'd make me sad.
It's got legs, very long legs.
That
He
might
does
not
have
have
very
been in the
long legs.
Mancrush 3 either. So, I mean,
Yeah.
fuck. What would I be right now? God.
85, you get the first GNR show at the Troubadour. You lost me with that whole trip thing, though. I didn't know what you were trying to sell me on at first. It was like, they stole a gas card. They ran here and there and everywhere. And well, what's this whole story about? And plus, why didn't you use that in the music round? Why'd you save that for the news round? Couldn't that have been maybe a better choice?
Sounds like he's got a banger. He might have a banger. Actually,
already
no, we
had
just
the
did the
music
music round.
Yeah, we
what
just
the
did.
fuck?
He had talking heads, right? So
I had
the
Talking
Yoo-hoo.
Heads.
Yoo-hoo
Because
factor.
the only news I could find, there was a lot of downer stuff or political stuff or Reagan did this.
Anything
Mhm.
worse than Mike having Tupac shot on the
killed.
street?
Yeah, well,
That was a
you know.
huge story.
Oh, yeah.
No, I just thought that whole journey that they went on, if they didn't go through those early trials and tribulations in June of '85, they probably wouldn't have become the band that they were. It was that lineup just came together, that they played that one show at the Troubadour, and then they hit the road and everything went wrong. So it was kind of a bonding experience. So I thought that was kind of a good story.
Oh, yeah, it was interesting enough. I just, first I was like, is he trying to sell me on the story or the show? I don't know what the hell's going on here. But I am clueless half the time, so who knows?
Well, it all happened in June of '85. So.
Yeah, this is correct, right? So you hit the month, you followed the rules. I understand what you're trying to tell me here. You're like, don't you dare pick Mike, because I followed the June guidelines here. But let me tell you, though, Mike, yeah, he brought us all down. But that was a huge story. Now, I'm not a Tupac fan, but back in the 90s, in the early 90s up to the mid 90s, being a teenager, you got your news from MTV, right? Or in school.
Tabitha Soren, I believe.
Yeah, or if you're in school, a lot of kids had like Channel 1 live from the Hacienda. Did you guys have that in homeroom? No.
No.
Like where Anderson
No.
Cooper could start. No, okay, whatever. Forget I even said that. But still, MTV, right? Everybody remembers Kurt Cobain kills himself, and everybody's glued to MTV, and Kurt Loder being all bummed out delivering that
He's
information.
like 85 years old now, by the way.
Is he?
I don't know. He's something
He's still alive?
insanely old. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Still looks the
crazy.
same. Got
Probably.
dudes made of wax.
Okay, I'm glad we've established that. Kurt Loder is made of wax. Do not get him near fireplaces or any kind of exposed heat. But the Tupac thing, it's huge, right? And I was trying to say and kind of elaborate on the fact that I do not care for Tupac's music. It wasn't important to me. But that whole thing, the whole scene, the again, we're talking about the LA and Boston, right? The East Coast versus the West Coast, and that feud, and Biggie getting shot, and Tupac, and hell, we wouldn't even have fucking holograms now of artists if it wasn't for Tupac, right? So there I go. Right now, I'm weighing out Roger Murdoch versus Tupac hologram. Which one was the best here? Which one was the most important thing? And I'm not trying to discredit you, Mark, at all. GNR, of course, is huge too. I mean, it's one of the biggest rock bands of all time, and like you said, this crazy road trip is like the clay to which they were sculpted from to make this beautiful artwork unleashed upon the world. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So here we go. Yeah, I'm teeter-tottering here between 75 and 96. So
My guy's
know.
alive still.
what does that have to do with anything?
It has legs.
Yeah, he has legs. Okay. Well, listen,
And LA
what you
gears.
no. What you should have done, and this is something you should have really thought about, especially with me coming on the show. Compare what he was worth, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1975, and then adjust it to inflation to 2021.
Do you want that? So at the time,
Oh, geez.
he was making $500,000 per season.
Uh-huh.
All right, so you're looking at $500,000. He's about $5 million a year.
Did you just go off the top of your head with that? Are you looking on a computer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of averaging what it would be based off of other things that I have adjusted for you for inflation. So like $100
Mhm.
in 1975
Mhm.
is $500 today.
Oh.
So I'm guessing here it'd be about $5 million.
Okay. How much is a gallon of milk?
Oh, who knows? But like it's crazy though, because like when you're looking at inflation for sports salaries, it really balloons in the 90s and it blows out of proportion. Because if you look at it, if they just stayed the same keel, like even keel all the way through
Yeah.
75, these guys would be getting paid like $5-6 million, and it would still be a lot. But now they're getting paid like, what do basketball players on a max salary get now? Like 20 million, 25, something.
I'll
insane.
start it with Juwan Howard. Thanks a lot, Juwan. Jeez.
Yeah. So he would have been a bargain.
Well, okay. Well, let's just establish this as well before we even
He had
started
LA
the show.
Gears,
LA Gears, wonderful.
his own LA Gears. He
Yeah,
wouldn't have
that's
got that if he didn't get
great.
traded to LA.
Yeah, that's not as impressive as the movie Airplane, which I brought up earlier. I mean, the
Yeah,
Snickers, whatever.
it ties in too.
Yeah,
Drinking
okay. So we already established that even though Mike fucked up, he's still legit.
He's,
so his
he's even
picks-
keel. He's good.
Is cool. Is cool.
Yeah.
So all right, and I think that Tupac, being such a huge musical icon, dying and being killed is much a bigger event, a newsworthy event than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being traded, which is also important. But Mike, this is a pity fuck. You win.
So, somehow it's not nearly as satisfying.
No,
You know?
it's not the way you like it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like fucking at a
Uh-huh.
drive-in and the person's crying.
Yeah.